Hello everyone, this is Charlotte, and this is a long-awaited podcast, which I haven't done in a long time, about 5 weeks. It's also a podcast called Chatting in Cars. This is where I talk about random topics as I drive to and from places, mainly work usually, but I'm on school holidays still for the next week, so you're lucky, I guess, although it's going to be a long one, which is horrible, and the main reason it's going to be a long one is because I'm driving to my parents' horrible farm. So it's going to, hopefully it won't be about 2 hours, but I might cover a couple of topics. Plus it's kind of a send-off as well, because I'll be changing formats next time, hopefully, if I can get my shit together. Right, there's a disclaimer at the start of this podcast because I do talk about random topics. I never really stick to one topic because I like to intermesh things. That's how my brain works. And I'm old and I go on tangents. I also swear profusely, which I'm not going to inhibit at all because, fuck it, I like swearing. I haven't particularly chosen a topic for this podcast, but I will be rambling through several, most likely, because, I'm bored and shit. It's a 2-hour drive. So I think what I will do while I sip my homemade coffee out my Baby Yoda cup is pick one from the multitude of Post-its I've got on my lap. I hope you all guys are having a fun, what is it, Sunday? Yeah, Sunday. Today I am driving to my parents' house, which is, if you've listened to the other long podcasts, anything that's over an hour is generally me driving to a shithole where my parents are. You'll know the kind of relationship I have with my parents, which is not great. At the moment I'm bailing my dad out so he can have a day off to play war games with his mate Neil. He does Napoleonics. My brother does Warhammer, but my dad does Napoleonics, so he's going to go do some wargaming there. Looking after my mom, who had hip surgery a while back. She's still a bit immobile, so I have to look after her. It's a complicated issue, that. Because if you know anything about my parents, you know there's a really rough dynamic there, and the right thing to do is to go and look after your mom. Yes, absolutely. But there's no relationship there, so, it's not great. So I'm not really looking forward to it, to be honest. I know it's the right thing to do to go look after your mum. She's somewhat elderly, she's 65 now, 66. And she hadn't just had surgery, she had surgery about 6 weeks ago. But the dynamic there is just not great. If you listen to any other podcasts I've done, you'll know that I came from abusive childhood. My parents are not big on making emotional connections with their kids. Most of it was putting us in a position of control and exploitation. It's like what they can't do now with their hands and fists and shouting and screaming, they do now with guilt tripping. So, or they attempt to, at least. It works for my siblings, doesn't work for me. Yeah, they're conniving fuckers. They really are. But, I don't know what to do about that. I still haven't got a solution. I've got a psych degree and no solution for that. It's like, because I want to just cut them off completely. Because they've not bothered to build any kind of relationship. Every time I do go over there, it becomes exploitative. What can you give us? What can we do? Like, what can I give to you? Or, sort of thing. It's never a case of where your parents, we just want to hang out and know you. It's always transactional. So I'm sitting there thinking, I don't particularly want to hang out with you guys, but I know morally, from my own moral code, that I wouldn't leave a woman who's, had surgery on her own at that age and is hobbling around on a Zimmer frame. So, it's like, she's got us by the balls, I'm afraid. So it's like, fuck. Which sounds horrible because most people have a relationship with their parents which is quite stable, but fucking hate being in this pinch. I really do. Because part of me, the immature part of me, is saying, well, fuck you. You fucked us over as kids. Fuck you. Here's it back. But the nearly 40-year-old woman that resulted from my parents' immaturity and inability to raise us properly is turning around going, well, you wouldn't have liked that at this age, and you don't want it back when you're that age. So you wouldn't do it to someone else. You know what it's like to be on the receiving end of that. Why would you pass that on? So I'm half and half. My little angel on my shoulder is saying, go and look after this bitch. And the devil's sitting there going, no, fuck that bitch. So it's a bit of a weird dynamic. And there's that third dark entity that's just sitting there going, push the Zimmer frame away. So, cap her in the kneecaps. So it's probably not exactly as wholesome as it should be. I don't know. No, I won't do that. I won't listen to the dark voices. That's naughty. That's how people's houses get burnt down. We're not doing that again. But you know, it's a horrible dynamic because you do feel like you're torturing yourself. And I know I'm crossing my own boundaries here by doing this. Because I said, look, I'm not going down to that farm again. Because every time I go down to there, it's a case of doing jobs for them. Not because, you know, I love them or because I've got a stable relationship with them or, you know, they've been kind to me growing up and I feel compelled to repay them, you know, and likewise, you know, even if it is a transactional relationship, it's a case of I feel like they conditioned me to fucking respond in particular ways, and now as soon as I step through the door I got some Pavlovian response where I have to do what they want me to do. Otherwise, you know, even though they can't legally hit me or shout at me or anything like that anymore because it's assault, you know, it's horrible. It's a horrible, you can recognize the conditioning, but, you know, you're fighting yourself not to, you know, not to crack the shits about it. So it's like, I know what you did here and I hate it, but I know in myself if I don't go and do this, and it might be part of my people pleasing because I do people please to my own detriment. It might be part of that. I know if I don't go, I'm going to feel shit about it. Even though these people were assholes for the first, you know, 20 years of my life physically, emotionally, psychologically, and then generally assholes after that as well. Because they, you know, it's all kinds of circumstances that led to this as well. It's not just a case of me being bratty teenager and not growing up. It's a case of physical, mental, and psycho abuse from 0 to 20. After that, you know, guilt-tripping psychological abuse and all kinds of shit after that. And then after that, being ignored when I was going through divorce and shit like that, when I needed help and support and emotional. There's just no connection there. They are people who were physically present when I was raised. They did a form of raising. I don't know how wholesome it was. It wasn't particularly. Especially after you've like had discussions with everyone else around you about what kind of parenting methods they did or they hadn't. And it's like, my friend Andrew's pretty chill parents. I mean, his mum's pretty loud. She's from Manchester. She's a gorgeous little woman. But she's pretty loud, and that's about it. I don't think he's had any kind of real violence towards him, because he's soft as shit as well. I've never heard him utter a cross word. I've never seen him angry, and I've known him, since I was fucking 7. It's like 31 years. I've never seen any kind of conflict in that house. His sister, who's 2 years younger, is feisty than he is. But you compare your notes with the other people or the kids you've grown up with, and you sit there and think, why the fuck are my parents acting this way? Like, what is going on with their mental health that they are willing to inflict this on, you know, individuals half or a quarter their size and ones they're meant to fucking unconditionally love, right? It's like, it doesn't make sense. So you're sitting there going, and it makes you question your whole reality as well. And it does send you into slight psychosis. Like, are these actually my parents? It's like, I don't get it. Why are they willing to do this to me? I have questioned that. I've explored a lot of that. It's like, they can't be my fucking parents. Why would they beat the shit out of us? It doesn't make sense. We're small, we're cute, we're fluffy. Why would you do that? Is this the Truman Show? What the fuck? This is some kind of Hunger Games, Truman Show, sadistic child social experiment, you know? Like, you explore it all because you're trying to look for some kind of justification for as to why these people would act this way, and it doesn't make sense. It's a disconnect, and the only thing I've come up with is because they're shitheads. You know, I've got a psych degree, I've got a social sciences degree, I've got adult education, I've got teaching, I've got everything you need to know about how to look after kids, besides being, you know, a pediatrician or some shit like that. And I cannot grasp why the fuck these two individuals chose to be assholes like this. I cannot do it. It fucks me up in the head because it's illogical. I'm going, this doesn't make sense. But then again, you think about it, these two came from damaged houses themselves. In a certain way, in different ways, obviously. If you listen to the other podcast, you'll know what kind of family my parents came from. And they used what they knew, or they went with what they fucking felt like, because they were emotion-based growing up. I remember it was a roller coaster of unstable emotions in that fucking house. And they have hair trigger tempers. Both of them, fucking berserkers. You listen to the podcast I did on berserkers, you'll know what kind of fucking people they are. 4 kids, no money. It's this molten, boiling pot of stress with people who have no concept of how to regulate their own emotions. And they're supposed to be teaching us how to regulate ours. And I'm sitting there thinking, it took me years to unlearn, like decades to unlearn my anger, which I got from both of those. And I still have fucking trouble. I would never turn on a kid myself, but I still feel like that frustration and anger that they've somehow implanted in me, I swear. When I'm associating with kids that are just being little shits. And you sit there and think, I'm not going to do what they did because I know it hurts and I don't want to pass that on. I don't believe in that shit. I don't like it. But I can still feel them in me and what they implanted as the appropriate response to dealing with that kind of situation is to hit it like a fucking jukebox. I mean, they turn it to the Fonz. It's like, that was my mom's response. It's not doing what he wanted to do. Whack. Music plays. Fonzie's Except she went for like hours beating the shit up. But it's completely different. It's not as cool as that. She didn't have a bomber jacket or anything, bitch. It's like she was not the Fonz. But you can feel it in your, and that leads to just not building any kind of emotional relationship. I can't rely on them. From a young age, I knew I couldn't rely on them. Like 5 years old, I knew. At 8 years old, my dad went ballistic because I fucking nicked 50 cents from his coin collection to go and buy something in the canteen at school. I mean, I was perpetually nicking things as kids because they didn't fucking provide, but I was seeing what the other kids were getting. I'm going, well, why can't I get that? So I went and got it myself. That's that hyper-independence I got out of this. It's like I wasn't just, taking coins out of coin collections and shit. I was stealing food. I was, this neglect that came from that, not just resource-wise, but also emotional neglect. I've got a strong streak of if I can't get it from someone, I'll fucking go get it myself. It's like, fuck you, I'll get it myself, And it is weird, it melds into this whole situation where it's like if someone tells me I can't do something, I fucking will. And I'll fucking show you how to do it, and I'll do it better than you, and more efficiently. It's like that. That's where my anger goes. It's someone saying that I can't, and I fucking will. I don't melt when it comes to someone saying you can't do that or denying me something or, I don't melt. I've noticed that, and I know that came from like 5 years old because my parents neglected me properly. Most of the kids who I'm teaching now have come from good lifestyles and homes. I feel they're incompetent, quite frankly, and I know it's just a trauma response from what my parents were doing. Because from 5, they encourage that you're on your own, figure it out mentality. Which has a value to it in a sense, but the way they did it was overkill. You don't leave a 5-year-old to just figure shit out. It's like, you'll get it. It's like, what? Yeah, fuck it, go and do it. And I think that was more a case of them being half-assed. It's like they saw something cute, they thought, oh, babies might be cute, or here's our chance to, bring an extension of ourselves into another person that's going to survive after us. I still think having kids is somewhat an extension of narcissism. It's saying to the world, I need to have another me for the next how many fucking decades. And they're going to make another version of me. I still think that's part of the job. Or it's a case of bandwagoning where someone goes, oh, that's cute, I'll do that. Or my friends are doing that, I'll do that. It's like, a lot of them are just accidents. I'll admit that as well. So some people just have babies accidentally. It's like, whoops, there's my own stupidity. Personified in a baby. Woohoo! Who didn't bring a franger? You didn't. Christ, do you guys know what franger is? It's a condom. A condom. That's an Australian term. Oh my god, that takes me back to high school, man. My ex-boyfriend Daniel used to call them frangers. Never had sex with him though, he was gross. Anyway, tangent time. I've only had one coffee. But the thing is, like, I look at kids today and I'm watching them and I'm sitting there going, my mum would walk the floor with you because you're just, and they're constantly asking for things and they're constantly asking you to do things for them. And they play dumb or they play blind or they wait till you got to do it for them. There's a certain level of what I would deem laziness. Now, I don't know what the difference between acceptable levels of incompetency is in kids is compared to what my parents told me they were. Because my parents, you're on your own. Like, my dad was just generally incompetent. He has Peter Pan syndrome, which is why I'm bailing him out now. Peter Pan syndrome, doesn't want to actually work, just likes the free ride. Used my mum as a surrogate mum, essentially. He never held down a job properly, didn't think he should have to. He used to have a tantrum every 3 years and quit his job. So when he did have a job, it was never a stable thing. So we never had the stable, dad goes and works, mum stays at home, looks after us. My mum had to bail him out. I worked for my dad for a while at the front desk in one of his businesses he started up, then collapsed because he couldn't be fucked perpetuating it. He's an accountant, but he's terrible. He's a fucking terrible accountant. I cannot express to you how much on the fiddle this fucker is. Anyway, he's just terrible. There's paperwork everywhere, confidential paperwork everywhere. It's fucking crazy. He's not organized. He's got no concept of how to run or operate a business, which is where I come in, like, on the opposite, because I love doing the business things. I've got 3 online stores. Everything's organized. Everything's on time, you know. It's like I've had a series of anti-role models. But my mum bailed my dad out because he couldn't or wouldn't, I don't know, support us financially. And that was on him as an individual. He walked into something, thought, that looks good. And he's been doing this my entire life. He likes to give lip service to ideas, not actually see it through. He probably did it with us kids, to be honest, because other people had kids. I know there was a push for him to carry on the family name from his dad, my granddad Bob, who is now dead. You have to have kids, you have to pass on the same family name, because that's what my brother got at the same time, because he's the only boy in our time. We've got a boy and we've got 3 girls in my generation. My dad pushed on my brother that he has to carry on the family name, so now he's got 2 girls, which is hilarious. No sons. But there is that, men do get that push still, and I find it fascinating, because when I got married, I kept my family name. I didn't change it, and if I got married again, I probably wouldn't fucking change it again, because there's no point. It doesn't make any difference, it doesn't make any sense to take on someone else's persona when I've earned mine so well. It's like, bitch, I'm giving up my identity because you got issues. Fuck off. I have my stuff. I got degrees with my name on it. I was like, aren't you going to take my name? Fuck no. I love you, but no, I'm not you. But there was a big push for that. But I have a feeling my dad liked the idea of it. He goes, oh, that's cute. Let's have one of those. Let's have 4 of those. Or maybe they kept trying for a son or something. No, actually, because he had a son, didn't he? But anyway, but the reality of actually raising kids is a hell of a lot harder than most people assume, and they actually get locked into these fucking circumstances where they think, oh, that's cute. And it's cute for about 3 years. Once they start walking, running, and get noisy, like real noisy, people tend to go, oh, fuck, regret purchase. You know? And I've seen it time and time again. This is why I didn't want my own kids. I'm going, that's cute. No. I don't want that. It's a nice idea. I've got 4 nieces. I've got 2 of them in their teens now, mid-teens, and I got another 2 who's one just born and one who's about 4. And I'm like, I've got both ends of the spectrum here. It's like, do you want kids now? No, I'm good. And I've also had like 2 miscarriages as well, so I know I've got a good spectrum of what to expect going through the process. I'm just not sold on it. I've never really particularly been, you know, babies. My older sister was. She wanted babies since she was 16. I'm like, I want a fucking dog, mate. I want like shitloads of animals. My older sister was like, I'm going into childcare. I'm gonna have babies. It's gonna be great. Oh my god, babies. I'm like, you are insane. Let's get some puppies. Fuck that. It's a weird. All my siblings have got different temperaments. Sorry, my stutter's kicking in because I'm tired. But, you know, I'm most similar to my brother, to be honest, because we're, you know, thick as thieves. Plus, he's I hero worshipped him for God knows how long. So I was like mini him for like the longest time, which was awesome because we hung out and did stuff. Like, well, actually, to be honest, I just followed him around, but that's about it. You know? He's like, that fucking annoying sister. What does she want? She just wants to sit under the table. You guys play Warhammer and feel like she's being included in something that isn't getting shouted at. That'll do it. And he turned out really well. He's a really kind, nice, warm, strong guy. He's like, I'm jealous because I've got anger issues. He's got that enviable, calm, strong, silent temperament, and I'm fucking nuts. So, as you can tell. But hanging out together is a riot now. I don't get along so much with my sisters. I think I get along with my younger sister, Pookie, more. My older sister was always the perfect bitch, so you know, it's a weird dynamic. My older sister was the golden child of the family. Anyway, I got ignored. That was fun, which is fine. My younger sister got a bit more spoilt than all of us because she was the youngest. Anyway, my parents got a weird dynamic where they play each other off, played the kids off each other, essentially. My brother was the scapegoat because he had ADHD and was always in shit. So, and I ran to him because he's awesome. It's like, can you believe what Joey's doing? Oh my God, it's so cool. I don't know if you ever got those like little Kinder Egg things. You ever? Kids better not be listening to this because this is a horrible, bad example of the fucked up shit we got up to. Don't listen, kids. Shut off now. But you know, it's Kinder Eggs. You got a little plastic ball in the middle, and we used to cut up sparklers and put a fuse. And my brother was slightly, you know, obsessed with flammables and explosives when we were little. So we used to fill it with sparklers, and the plastic just melts, and it just boom, and it's hilarious. But we did it in the house, in the bathtub, and that was probably a bad idea. I fucking love hanging out with my brother. He's nuts. But he's ADHD, and so everything sounds fucking amazingly fun to him when we were growing up. It's like, let's go fucking set fire to shit. It's like, and I'm like, I'm autistic, so I'm sitting there going, this is awesome. He's so naughty. Let's go and see what he does. This is an anomaly for me. I'm interested to see what patterns he creates. And my sisters had the dynamic where my younger sister would follow my older sister around because, you know, they weren't as cool as us playing with explosives in the toilet, the bathroom. I think we melted the bath at one point. That was bad. We got in trouble. Anyway, he got in trouble. He was the good man. He always took the fall. Because he was old. It was like a 5-year age difference, so he took the fall. But my parents were worried I'd turn out like him because, you know, I used to follow him around and copy everything he did. I used to dress like him. I used to be wearing those ripped jeans, because this was the grunge era, back Nirvana. Think about how Kurt Cobain dressed. I was dressing like that. I was copying him and following him around, and we're gonna go do some stuff with matches and shit. It's gonna be fun. It's like worst influence ever. And I'm sitting there looking back now as a, you know, nearly 40-year-old teacher, as a primary school teacher. I'm sitting going, oh my God, how are we still alive doing weird shit like that? How we still got all our fingers and stuff? And like, he was the first one to give me like anything to do with sparklers or flammables or alcohol or, you know, it's just like the worst influence. But he grew up to be a really good guy, which is awesome. And to be honest, he's a bloody good role model. I don't blame him. But now he's got 2 girls himself, 2 little girls. One's only about a year old now, and the other one's about 4. So he's really mellowed out. It's awesome to watch. But he could have really, the tragedy would have been, you know, like just turning out like my dad. But he went polar opposite. He went the opposite way. He's hyper reliable now. He is the best guy to hang around with. I would leave him with my kids any day of the week. Would I leave my kids with my parents if I had them? Fuck no. Fuck no. It's a stark contrast in parenting styles. But that's what you do. You get older and you go, what hurt me? What do I not want to perpetuate? And you don't do it. You don't carry that on. So I'm sitting there, even this morning I was sitting there laying in bed because I ruminate about shit I don't want to have to do. Because we all do, don't we? You got to go to work and you know you're going to have like a shit day. You go, oh, fuck's sake, I don't want to go. I don't know. Sitting there and bitch to yourself while you're dragging your clothes on and shit like that. Because you know it's going to be a shit day and you probably should be hyping yourself up about the experience, but you don't because you're like, fuck this. But I was talking to myself, and I'm sitting there going, and you just run through all the scenarios about why you don't like going, and these people, what have they done to you, and it's like, why do you have to? And it's a bit teenagery, really, isn't it? But I was thinking, you know, it's just, you have a choice. And I was trying to figure out why these people didn't choose to not pass on the shit experiences they had. And I'm still trying to find excuses for it, because I still want that sort of justifying action side of things, because I want to understand that I'm analytical. I like looking at cause and effect. I look for anomalies, but I'm still trying to figure out why my parents were that way inclined that they didn't bother to, you know, try and curb it. I mean, the only cycle I can think that they broke was my grandma's alcoholism. You know, it's like, that's the only cycle they broke. It's like, because we didn't grow up with alcohol at all in the house. It just wasn't there. And if it was in the house, it was locked up in a cabinet that no one really touched except my older brother, who was, you know, he was always into picking locks and stuff because he's nuts. Again, the worst influence. But we all turned out all right. I've never been arrested. But possibly the most person I knew growing up, the most interesting person I knew growing up was my older brother. He was awesome. Anyway, got up to so much shit. Worst influence. But, you know, it's like they didn't bother breaking any cycles behaviorally wise when it comes to, you know, disciplining kids. They just perpetuated it. I don't understand why they chose to do it that way, knowing that it hurts, knowing that it damages people. And my parents were progressive in areas like gender roles. My mum was absolutely sure that girly girls were not going to exist in our fucking house. You are going to learn everything. You are going to be a leader. You are going to fend for yourself. You are going to get up and go and, you know, be a little fucking badass. Even if you're only 10 years old, you're going to get going. So the pretty in pink stay in the kitchen shit just didn't work. I had to learn femininity at a later age, because even when I was like 16, she went through, I think she found out I had like a boyfriend. No, it was 15. Ooh, shit, you're swerving in and out of lane. Sorry, I'm watching arseholes. I wish I had a webcam. At 15, I was going out, and it was puppy love. It wasn't anything fucked up, because I'm like 15, dude, ew. I had a boyfriend, and we used to hold hands, shit like that. And his name was Dave Helene. You won't find him. I don't know where he is now. Fuck knows. But he was a riot too. He was hilarious. But it was puppy love, and she found out because someone had seen us holding hands somewhere, like at school or some shit like that, and somehow it got back to her. And she went through my fucking room like a tornado and took out everything that was feminine in my room. And I remember it was a big black bag. She bagged it and she binned it. Everything that made me a girly girl. Now, I didn't have much growing up girly girl wise, because, you know, she wasn't into that shit, so we weren't. I was raised a guy, to be honest. By gender terms wise, I was raised a guy. We were raised to do everything. Physical labor, all that kind of shit. We did the kitchen stuff, yeah, but we also did the guy stuff. There was not much in the way of, you know, the Barbie pink shit. Anything I had in my room that was particularly girly, I had squirreled away, or I had, you know, taken off someone else, or someone had given to me. I'd never actually gone out and been able to buy anything for myself. I'd never really created any kind of identity for myself in terms of femininity and being a woman or a girl. And I was becoming a woman at the time at 15, so that was integral for me developing who I was as an adult female now. And the fact that she went in and just took everything and left the room fucking bare near enough and binned it and, you know, threw it away. It spoke volumes to how she actually saw me, you know, my identity and who I am. It was very controlling. And at the time, I fucking hated her. And it's not just a case of being a tantrum 16-year-old girl, you know. It's like, I was very compliant at that age. I was very quiet. I didn't fight back. I didn't do anything. I remember just bawling, because, you know, you just ripped a part of me out, you know, you fucking bitch. You know, it was horrible. When I was still trying to develop who I was, and this small space I had for myself that I had, you know, begged, borrowed, and stolen, essentially. Things I liked for me, she just ripped out and fucking binned. And and it's traumatizing. And it sounds so small to some people that are just like, well, just get over it. I mean, it was, you know, Christ, what was it, 20 odd years ago, 22 years ago now. But that is part of, in your teens, that's when you start developing who you are and what your values are. Because you're looking towards independence. Traditionally speaking, I'm talking about like child development, because I've done all those fucking courses and I got the degrees. I do, funny enough. A lot of people talk out their ass, but I actually know what I'm talking about. In your teens, you start developing your independence for yourself. Now, my hyper-independence began at 5. So there's a lot of control issues going on there. I had already established myself as an independent person by the time I got to 15, 16. And the fact that she went in, just ripped it all out and violated it was a complete crossing of boundaries. She'd been pushing since 5 that I was on my own, you have to figure it out, you are on your own, figure it out. And then to come in at 15 and just, you know, frog march your way through my fucking boundaries, take my shit, ransack my bedroom and fuck off again, and I'm supposed to just sit with it. It was very violating, and that just contributed to not having any kind of a relationship with her. I mean, we should, at this age, being that we're both considered adult women, we should be able to relate to each other now through common experiences and feelings and things like that in a kind of, you know, we should be able to relay things. We should have some kind of a familiar bond, you know, but it's to be honest, it's a painful one. I don't feel connected to her because of experiences like that. And that was just part. Honestly, I can look at it and I can say she panicked, maybe, which caused her to be angry, which caused her to have that hair trigger snap. And she went through and she said, the problem is that you're too girly, you're attracting boys, take the shit that attracts the boys, and that'll fix the problem. And she just ripped it all out. It's like, that didn't fix the problem. What it did do is make me develop anorexia. It contributed to it because it's the only fucking thing about me I could fucking control. And I still had boyfriends after that. It's like, I just took it underground, you know. Don't be stupid. It's just like, you can't force someone's hand like that. It just breeds insurgency. I had another boyfriend at like 16, because this was only puppy love. It's not a case of we're having sex at 15 and shit like that. But she freaked out. She overreacted. And it was all about that, you know, like that analogy I've used before about the chain on the dog, you know, the choke chain. Because she used to have choke chains for our dogs when we were growing up as well. They used to pull on the lead and she used to fucking, what do they call it? It's a choke chain. You know, it's just a loop, like a noose. But she pulled too hard on that choke chain for us. And I just took it underground and I kept doing what I wanted to do. And now I had motive to keep doing it. I couldn't tell her about anything. So anything like, if I was having boy troubles or anything like that, I know I couldn't go to her because she'd just crack the shits again and it'd be a worse punishment. I mean, they kept threatening to send me to a different school. I wasn't doing anything bad, you know. And I know I wasn't doing anything bad because there were no real consequences. At most, I was, you know, holding hands with a boy. It's like, oh God, can you get pregnant from holding hands? I'd never done drugs. I never smoked. It's not like I was being led astray. What I was looking for was the connection that they failed to give me. And I've told this, you know, in my other podcasts. It's like the only reason I went looking for connection with others was because I wasn't getting it at home. I wasn't. My parents were assholes. I had a need to make connection with other people. I had friends. I have friends since I was 7, man. There's long-lasting. That's, you know, the level of connection you have with someone. If you've got friends since you're fucking 7, then that's a valuable connection. Because most people just fuck off after a couple of years. They change classes or they change schools or they move state or something like that. I've got friends I've known since I was 7 and friends from high school. It seems to be the older you get, the more disposable your friends become because they're running their own ship, you know, they're just fucking off whenever they want to. Which is sad, but you know. But they set you up for a fall. You know what it is? It's like, they wanted us to be hyper independent, so it wasn't a burden on them. I can see that. I'm like, you've got 4 kids, no money, and it's a lot of stress. Okay, so you want to teach independence, but you taught in hyper independence, and you did it through abuse and physical intimidation, psychological abuse, emotional abuse, all this kind of crap. It's like, okay, why now that we've all left and we've all become adults and that we're all living our own life, do you suddenly want to be friends now? It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. It's impossible to try and reconnect with something that's been absolutely burnt to the ash. And when I needed them, I wanted them. When I was a kid, I wanted a grown-up. Like, I never had a sense of safety growing up because my abusers were my parents. You were constantly treading on eggshells. You were constantly not raising your voice because you don't know what it would do. It's like, if they were asleep, I was ecstatic. It's like, Mom and Dad gone to bed. Awesome. Fucking yes. Dad's asleep. Great. That means nobody's going to get shouted at. Mum would pass out on the couch, or she had a big lazy boy in the front room. And it was awesome because we would just tiptoe around her. It's like everybody knew, just stay out of that fucking room. Don't turn off the TV, stay out of the room, leave her to it. Because you just got a sense of freedom from her being, unconscious, which could have led to all kinds of shenanigans. But, we didn't do that because we were good kids. But it's also horrible because it also set up this dynamic where it was kids against the adults as well. I mean, we all banded together, which is good. But we shouldn't have had to. It should have been a passing of information from the older generation to the younger generation, a care, a sense of community and the family unit. All these kinds of good things that promote, investment in connections later on as adults, where we want to bring back our kids and show them what good people our parents were, and we want them to interact and all this kind of shit. It's just gone. It was never there. We all stuck together until we were old enough to get the fuck out. And then that pretty much describes the dynamic. I mean, I was ready to go at 16. 16, I had started squirreling away supplies to get the fuck out of there. I never got to use them. I didn't move out till I was like 19. By then I passed them off to my older sister because she moved out first and stuff like that. It's like, well, I'm not going to be gone for a while, but here you go. I had my first job at like 14 and 9 months because I was adamant I need funds to get the fuck out. It's not a case of, I want some spending money on me. It's like, no, I wanted a job, and I worked for McDonald's. I wanted a job to get the fuck out of that shithole. I was squirreling all I could. I wasn't saving for a car. I was saving to move the fuck out. And that's at 14, 15, It's like that mentality shouldn't cross a 15-year-old's mind that they need to escape their own fucking family unit. It's insane. It should be a safe environment. You should still be learning about who the fuck you are, what your place is, what you can contribute to the family, the community. It's like all these higher order psychological issues, the abstract concepts of, identity development and conveying to the outside world who you are and what value you are. I was trying to jump ship because fuck that. At 16, she was still fucking abusing me. So was he. It was not a safe environment. I just wanted out. And you'd hear about kids. They're worried I was going to run away. I didn't run away because I knew as soon as I ran away, the cops would bring me back and I'd be fucking stuck with these assholes. Not only would I be in shit with the cops, I'd also be in shit with them more, and they'd be even more controlling, more constrained. So there was no point trying to run away. Later on when I was in uni, I heard stories about other, girls who had run away from home and they were living on the streets and shit like that. And I'm going, well, or they were couch surfing and stuff like that. And I'm sitting there going, well, I know that's not safe. So I stayed and I took the hits and I took the punches and I took all the shit. And I took that right up until I was 19. When I met my now ex-husband, I moved out with him and one of his buddies because they were in the Navy and they were heading into, what I thought was a pretty stable employment choice. And I thought, finally, I can build a home with this person. I can get going with that. I can achieve what I didn't get growing up. And I was really optimistic about that. I had my freedom. It wasn't just a case of, woohoo, I'm going off the rails and taking drugs and doing alcohol and shit like that. It's like a case of, I want a stable environment. Finally, I've got a chance to do it. Finally, I haven't got my parents on my back telling me, you know, you're this, you're going to do that, you will do that. This bullshit. And most 19-year-olds, when they get their freedom, they do. They go out drinking and partying and shit like that. I wanted to stay home. I wanted to build a home. I wanted to build a family. Well, I say a family. I didn't want kids, but at the same time, it's like, you can have a family with one other person and a dog, for fuck's sake. It doesn't have to be the whole white picket fence, fucking 4-bedroom house with 3 kids and shit. You don't have to do that. You can build a home with whoever you love and whoever you're with. It comes in all different formats, and as long as you're not, you know, being shat on perpetually, it's a home, right? It's like, it comes in lots of formats. I've seen, you know, growing up, I've seen all kinds of families, step families, extended families, people with just a shitload of animals, and you go, oh, crazy cat lady, and they think, no, because they're actually getting a lot of fulfillment out of that situation. And that it, to them, is a home, and it's great. And they're safe, and they're, you know, everything's going well. So I don't diss things like that. These crazy cat ladies. To me, my family, the idea of a family is just somewhere where you feel safe. It's not the 3 kids and the picket fence and shit, because I know that's it's an illusion. It's a stereotype left over from when we used to have the nuclear family ideas, you know, where it's, you know, 2 adults, 2 kids in the 1950s era. I think it's an outdated one, to be honest. But, you know, it's more of a feeling than it is a setup. And that was what I was looking forward to. And I moved out with Navy boys, and I didn't mind that. I didn't mind being the token girl in the family, doing all the cleaning and the cooking and that. I didn't mind. I liked it. It was like having brothers. It was. Because we had... Who do we have? I had my ex-husband now, who's now my ex-husband. And I was his girl, essentially. We took the main room, and then we had his friend, Juiced, who took one of the side rooms, and then we had someone else, and I can't remember his name. But we had like 3 guys in the house, and I never felt safer, to be honest. It was great. It was like having three guys. You know, I had my boyfriend, and I had 2 other brothers sitting with us, and I felt safe, because I'm like, they're not going to start some shit. None of these fuckers are going to touch me. It's great. And I've always felt like circumstances like that always made me feel safer, because I've always been akin to hanging out with guys. I wasn't raised a girly girl. And I know that sounds a lot like I've now become a pick-me girl, which is, but no, if you've been raised that way, and it's normal for you to hang around guys, and you get on with guys better than you do with girls, because my sisters were quite bitchy growing up. And I hung out with my brother, and it was awesome. We played with explosives and shit. But that's the way I was raised. I was raised a guy. And it pisses off girls now in social groups. Like the last social group I hung out with, I know I pissed them off, because they saw it as competition. I don't know why. I was there for one guy who was my boyfriend at the time in a monogamous fucking relationship. As far as I fucking knew. Apparently it wasn't. But it started as competition, and they hated me. I'm like, you know what, dude, I'm just going to keep being me. I don't give a fuck. It's like, if I get along with the guys, and it wasn't like I was flirting with the guys. I was very much sticking with my person, because I'm not good in social situations, and I don't interact well with others. I can't talk publicly very well. But the fact that I was getting along with people easily just by being nice, and just fucking be nice. You don't have to hang off people like this blonde chick was doing. It's like every time she came near a person, she had to try and dominate the fucking conversation by hanging off them. It's like, oh, but we're just friendly. Dude, you're 3 centimeters away from grabbing his dick. Would you put him down? Okay, just calm down. You can be friendly without groping people. That gave me the shit, because to me, that is just bad manners. It's like, I don't want to be touched. I mean, I might be just, what's it called? Where you're reflecting on someone. You've got the word in your head, haven't you? I know you have, because you're listening. But, if someone come up to me and start hanging off me pretending to be friendly, I'd be pissed off. It's like, what the fuck are you touching me? It's like, oh, we're just being friendly. Can you imagine, like, if you're a girl, yeah, and a guy comes up to you, starts putting their arms around your neck, and it's like, you don't know this fucking person, you're barely friends. It's like, oh, it's okay because like we're friendly. This is how we show affection. Get the fuck off me! I'll break your fucking arms. It's like, no, but because it's girls doing it to guys, apparently it's acceptable. I'm sitting there going, that is not acceptable. That is not acceptable. I don't agree with this at all. First of all, you know he's got a fucking girlfriend, so get your fucking mitts off. It's like, and you got no fucking manners or decorum. Get off. You respect no one. You know. And it's, I don't know if it's some kind of weird mentality that's been cultivated in Gen Z where, you know, oh, it's okay because I'm a girl and we're all young and it's like, no, because when I was that age, if you did that to someone else's boyfriend, you got your face kicked in. It doesn't make sense. Like, why are you touching him? You know, it's like there was a certain level of respect to boundaries. Even in high school, you didn't. I don't know what's going on with this generation when they think they can just get handsy with fucking everyone and it's cute. It's like, it's not fucking cute. Fuck off and watch Barney. You want to go fucking watch something cute. You know, it's like, that's not funny. You're just being disrespectful, you know? So, I don't know what though. I'm putting it down to being that particular girl. And it gave me the shits because you crossed boundaries there. You crossed several boundaries there of respect. And I find myself disgusted with this person. I'm like, if it was her boyfriend and someone else had done the same thing, she'd crack the shits. Or she'd try and one-up them. I think she's that kind of a person. If someone was flirting with her boyfriend, she'd go and double flirt with someone else's. It's that kind of pettiness. And I sit there and I think, I don't want to belong to this shit. I'm way past this shit. I wouldn't even done this petty shit when I was your age. I don't know why you're doing it. You know, it's like, how fucking loserly are you? But it's there's a very big difference in the way people are coming out these days. It's like, the fake niceness. Like, I was told if you're nice to people, they're nice back. That was the transactional thing I was taught. If you're nice, you're nice back. If you're nasty, you get punched in the face. And that makes sense to me because I've had some experiences where people were nasty to me and they got punched in the fucking face. You know, it's but I was young and I was dumb and I didn't think of consequences at the time. So, you know, punched in the face, punched in the nuts, you know, it's all the fucking same. Anyway, all the guys are like, no, it isn't. But, you know, you change, don't you? You grow up, you sit there and go, well, that's not acceptable. I'm not going to carry this on because obviously it's going to hurt someone. And you change your mind and you grow up a bit. I'm going to change lanes because right now I don't know if you can hear this shitload of gravel apparently in the new road. No, it makes no difference. Shit. Okay. But you just... there's a severe lack of manners and respect for other people, even as, you know, separate beings in society. I found with Gen Z, it's like they just don't care about each other. They care about themselves. And I don't know why. It's like, you wouldn't. There's a lack of decency, I find. Like, you know, with respect to boundaries and how others might feel if you do certain things. And I don't understand it because I wasn't raised that way. But some people just, you know, come across as scummy. Anyway, so I don't know where I was going with that. But I want them to pick up their standards because it makes them look bad. I think they can do better. I mean, there's young kids. I mean, if this is what Gen Z are now, what are their kids going to be like? It's like, what are you passing on to the next generation? It's like, you're just going to be fucking randoms in the street because that's how we say hello and we're all friendly here. It's like, how about no? It's like, hey, I just met you. Do you want to bang me over this fucking letterbox? You know, it's like, thanks for delivering my mail. It's like, what are you teaching these kids to push on to the next generation? It'll be fine. It's not fucking fine. I don't know. It's random. And I know I sound old and conservative in this, but I see consequences and I see where this goes and I don't like it. And they don't want to listen. And I know somewhat what the older people in my generation were looking at us and going, they're not listening. So maybe that's the whole karmic cycle of it. So we didn't listen to our older people. Well, actually, I was forced to listen to my older people, but Jesus Christ, that's some loud road. How do you get off this fucking road? I don't know if you can hear that, but it sounds horrible on my end. You know, it's because I'm doing 110. It's horrible. But I don't know. Anyway, so what do we do with that kind of shit? I mean, I stopped hanging out with that group because I'm just like, these are not my people. I don't want to participate in this. So that was what I did with my vote. I walked. I'm like, no, I'm good. Because this leads to STDs and unwanted pregnancies and shit like that. And I'm going drug addiction. I'm like, I know where this goes. I am you 20 years in the future, bitch. Actually, I'm not, because I would never lay my hands on someone else's man. But, you know, it's so fucking stupid. That's how your nose gets broken. That, and I have self-respect. But, you know, so why would I want to look like a slut? You know, oh my God, you're slut shaming. Well, some people need to be shamed, okay? We can't keep letting everything fucking slide. But that's the thing, it's like keeping others in check. Like, to improve the quality of society around us, right? You're not allowed to do that anymore because you got freedom of speech, apparently, which comes from America, which actually stems from the French Revolution. But anyway, we'll talk about that later. Robespierre. Anyway, freedom of speech and all that shit. But their freedom of speech always impedes on someone else's freedom of speech. So how is that freedom of speech, or action, or right to bear arms, or any of their fucking amendments? It's like, it's all contradictory. Now, the thing to take away from that was things like freedom of action, freedom of speech was meant to be, you know, taken with a grain of salt, in hand with also an understanding that you also have a certain level of responsibility to not harm others, to not upset others, to respect others, you know? It's they've just taken it in a very narcissistic, centralized way. It's like, I only worry about me, this is my freedoms, and fuck everyone else. But they're always on the defensive as well. It's not just America, I keep seeing it other places as well. People get defensive about anyone talking back to them. Everything is a fucking attack. So why is everybody playing the victim so much? And I don't understand it. There's a lack of resilience. There's a lot of weird shit going on, granted. Like globally, there's a lot of fucked up shit that's been going on ever since Harambe. We all recognize that gorilla and the, you know, the horrible shit that happened after him. We've angered the gods somewhere. But it's like, it's the go-to thing to do now. It's like to play the victim. Like, you piss someone off and then you play the victim. You get a reaction, you play the victim. Now, back in, when I was growing up in the 90s, which wasn't that long ago, and I refuse to fucking think it was, the late 1900s. I refuse. Fucking millennials, Gen Z. We were taught in school, not in school, we were taught by our families, okay, if someone upsets you, you punch them. If someone's bullying you, you hit them, you fight back. That's not good. That doesn't help anything. What it does is create an aggressive generation who are willing to fight on, you know, like two flies crawling up a fucking wall. It's like, that is my knee-jerk reaction to violence. And now millennials are trying to figure it out. It's not the fucking solution, because we were getting our ass kicked, you know. And so we were really humbled by that. It's like, because it would be anyone starting to fight anyone. You know, it's like someone looked at me funny, I'd beat the shit out of them. There are some kids these days in high schools I've noticed are still carrying that trend on. It's like you get the slightest hint of disrespect and you get laid into. And that's creating sort of like gang member mentality where, you know, it's us against the world sort of shit. And it doesn't go anywhere productive. Because it just creates, you know, grudges and feuds between, I mean, what we call tribal warfare. It's been extended into the younger generations that way. But the knee-jerk reaction to violence is not the way forward. It doesn't fix anything, it doesn't mediate the situation. Everybody gets black eyes and we all get fucked over in the end. Because you all get hauled into the principal's office and they're saying, why did you do that? And we said, because our parents told us to. So that doesn't fix anything. But at the same time, with the Gen Z, they've still got the residual effect of people are picking fights with me. They've got that half of the equation. But nobody's fucking touched them. You know, so they're developing a victim mentality where everybody's picking on me. But we've all told them, it's like, no, you don't have to fight back. It's okay. You don't have to do that. So, their concept of bullying these days is someone looking at them funny. And I've got it with my kids in the classroom where they will come and dob. And we used to call it dobbing because it's like, it just pisses the teacher off. It's like, I've got shit to do. What do you need? It's like, he looked at me funny. It's like, I'm looking at you funny. What do you want? But it's that constant dobbing. It's like that constant update that I need. Someone is doing some mediocre shit and they're playing the victim. And because they've got no resilience left anymore, because they've been told, like, you are constantly right. That census where they've got in America where the customer's always right. The customer's not always right. Sometimes the customer is a piece of shit. And it's like people have forgotten their manners. They've forgotten that people are people behind the counter with their own issues and problems, and they might be having a bad day, or they might be having a tough job. And we use our manners and we use our niceness and we keep the ball rolling that way, and the job gets done and we get our nice things and we pay our money and we go. Now people are demanding, that they come first for everything. And it doesn't work because it's a very selfish way of viewing things. And if they don't get what they want, they're the victim, of course. And in America, they tend to sue. But, it's a weird mentality to have. So you're not always the victim. Sometimes you are the victim. But again, that's a mindset as well. So you could come from the most horrible of circumstances. Like, I've been sexually assaulted. I've been raped. Do I consider myself a victim? No. Because the victim mindset is to sit in it and let it color everything that you've ever done around you. Now, I've got some traits that I have that have developed from those circumstances. I've also been physically assaulted by a random at like 2 o'clock in the morning because I went for a walk at the wrong time through a fucking park because I'm an idiot at some point. Bearing in mind I was in my early 20s. And I got a police report about that and everything. Piece of shit. Anyway, you don't hit girls. You don't hit anyone. I'm just going, Anyway, so I've got some traits that I have that I just don't, that I know are trauma responses. Like, I won't go out at night. I don't like going to bars on my own. I don't, it's all these safety things that we put in place. And they're residual from being a victim, like a legit victim by society standards. And I know they're there, but I don't let them dictate my life. Like, I know for safety's sake, I'm not going to go out walking at night again because there's assholes out there. But at the same time, I don't let it depress me. I don't let it, control my beliefs or how I see men or how I see, it doesn't control everything. I still maintain these were individuals acting on their own accord. The victim mentality would say, everybody's out to get me. I can't progress unless all individuals of this particular group are punished. It's like, maybe that's an extreme version of it, but at the same time, it's like, that these are individuals with their own psych issues. And individuals. Like, I've had bad boyfriends, bad ex-husbands. I don't paint every man as being that way because I know they're particular individuals with their own mental issues. It's like, and the circumstances were ripe for these bad relationships to occur. I enabled and allowed a lot of shit. Do I play the victim and say, assholes are targeting me? Men are so mean. It's like they're all out to fuck us over. It's like, no. I might joke about it because it's fucking hilarious. It's how we cope with trauma. But, I don't say everyone because I've got examples to the opposite. My brother is amazing. I've got male friends. Again, my friend Andrew, I've known since I was 7. He's a good guy. I mean, I wouldn't date him, but he's a good guy. It's like, I've known you too long. You're now my brother. Shut up. He is essentially a sibling to me. A brother from another mother. One that was less abusive. But, it's like you don't play the victim your entire life and expect people to just kowtow to your circumstances. We are essentially the hero of our own journey, but at the same time, we're not like center stage for everything. There are 7 to 8 billion people on this planet. Can you imagine they've all got their own center stage that they feel they need to be first and most important about? It doesn't make sense. I feel that there's a lot of humbling that needs to be done. Possibly what's happening now with the world, to be honest, because we're seeing a lot of people that are overtly narcissists, people in power, people with money, people with influence, that are suddenly getting a reckoning, a public, big, loud reckoning, and people are calling them out on their shit. And it's interesting. I don't know what caused that switch, because everything before, essentially, I would say that it kicked off with Wuhan. So everybody suddenly got pissed off all of a sudden and started pointing fingers at everyone. And you go, okay, I wonder what started that. And we say Wuhan, and we can pinpoint the year in which that happened, because that's now a thing. That'll go down in history. What was the Wuhan era? As well, that was when, was it released, the disease, or was it, accidentally left, or did it come from bats, or, we won't know for sure until like a couple of years from now, when people actually tell the truth and all the paperwork comes out. But there seems to be a great big reckoning. People are getting identified for being liars and covering up things. And it's interesting. But again, we can't play the victim, because we need to accept what part we played in this. It's like these rich people who we've deified. We enabled that. We allowed that, because we put them on a pedestal and said they can do no wrong. I don't know about Epstein, but you think about Bill Gates and that. Bill Gates was the savior of the world. He's bringing clean water to these third world countries. He's developing vaccines for measles and shit like that, because he's amazing. And he also associated with Jeffrey Epstein. So it's like, what else does this rabbit hole hold, It's like, where else is this going? It doesn't make sense. It's like all these heroes we created, we're now seeing fall. If you look into it biblical terms, like there is in Book of Revelations, and I do go this way because I'm looking at all kinds of belief systems. Don't worry, I'm not going to get preachy about it. There's a metaphor they use where there's a great statue. And I think it's the fall of Babylon or something like that, but the feet are made of clay. It's like the legs are made of copper, the thighs are silver or some shit like that. And as you go up the statue, it gets more and more solid. But at the bottom, the feet are made of clay. And the feet crumble, and it brings the whole statue down. And that's, because I was raised by Jehovah's Witness, well, my mom's a Jehovah's Witness, but I was raised with those kind of metaphors in mind, and it comes to mind because you're watching all these celebrities who are the feet of clay. And we're seeing them crumble now. The celebrities, the people in power, all these things they've built, this great statue of Babylon, which is a global phenomenon now, is slowly fucking toppling. And it's kind of worrying, because we're going to get fucked. I mean, we're all just enjoying the road. You ever seen that meme of that grandma where she's singing, I think it's Christmas carols or something, she's la 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 la. It's that meme. We're all doing that because we can't do anything about it, because we won't give them the position of power to defend ourselves, unless of course we collectivize and turn against them. And no one's got the fucking balls to do it these days. It's not the case of back in like French Revolution era, where everybody was pissed off and smelly and broke and starving and freezing. Although I will tell you, it is getting that way now. It is. I can tell you. Whoa, bird, you silly shit. Oh, I just hit a bird. No, I didn't. It bounced. I hate it when they do that. They fly out and then try and race your car. It's stupid. And it's like, you're a bird. Stop it. It bounced off anyway. But the thing is, I can tell you, for each country that is coming up with some kind of aggressor at the head, I can tell you how each one of those could revolt and actually reestablish the sense of, society. I can tell you how to do that. And the only reason I know how to do that is because I've seen it happen before in history. People are so obsessed with living in the now. It's like, go and look back at history, look for similar circumstances, and tell me this isn't how it's going to fucking turn out again. It's like, everybody's panicking right now. We're all going to be fucking fine. We're going to be fine. I know. It's like, you look back at the Second World War, it was shitty for about 5 years, and then everything got reestablished and rebalanced. People are panicking. You'll be fine. It's going to be shitty for about 5 years, and then it's going to return to back. It's like, it happened with the First World War, happened with the fucking Vietnam War. It's like, all these fucked up things that are causing a social reshuffling. Honestly, I think Putin's going to get shot in the head or something by his own people, which is exactly what happened to Hitler. China, you're looking at this so-called communist country which is ruled by a board of fascist dictators. They're going to get taken out because it's a militant country. Their own people are going to take the fuckers out because it's a militant country. You just have a coup de grace. It's predictable shit. You know, look back at history, find the similarities and go, oh, that's where it's going. It does give you a strong sense of like feeling safer. You're like, oh, I've seen this one. It's like watching reruns. You know, you watch Friends. It's like, oh, I've seen this episode. I know where it ends. It's like, oh yeah, this is where, you know, like Putin gets shot in the back of the head. It's like, oh my god, I know this one. People are so fascinated by, you know, I mean, it's just scaremongering also. But it's predictable. But again, as a community, as a global community, and we are a global community now because of mass global communication and trade routes and shit like that. We need to take account of our part that we played in enabling these fuckers to get to power or to take control of the situation. And bearing in mind, yes, most of the time they got there by fear or lying or something like that. But we still have a hand in this fucking game. We still can say, not anymore. You know, you can turn on them. It's not hard. And it sounds horrible because you're like, I just want peace and I just want, you know, yeah. What's the best saying I've ever said? It's like every now and again you need to turn up society because that's how the scum rises. Otherwise the scum rises to the top. That's one of the best sayings I've ever heard. It's like, I'm no revolutionary. I like quiet peace. I grew up in chaos. I don't want to have to turn shit on its head. I would like it to be functioning as it should. Because it's more fucking effort for us, isn't it? It's like more shit that we have to look after, reform, all this extra crap, and sometimes you're starting from scratch because absolutely everything is fucking poisoned. And you're just like, I don't want to do this. I'm tired. I'm already dealing with COVID. The economy's fucked. It's like, why are you assholes starting this shit now? I mean, that in itself was a tactic. If you look at it from conspiracy theory wise, if you look at it from that way, with COVID being maybe released intentionally, unintentionally, accidentally, or maybe it conveniently being, you know, an animal to human transfer of disease, it did in a sense destabilize the global economy, which created tensions. And people that are pissed off en masse are more easy to manipulate into creating things like wars and social uprising because they're pissed off. They've already got that preset anger there that they've got to let out somewhere. And so if someone stands up in their ivory tower and says, I know who's creating these problems, let's go fucking fight them, people are going to be like, well, fuck it, yeah, I'm angry already. You know? It's like, I don't think that's what happened. It's like we're seeing so many fucking mini wars kicking off because people are already pissed off. It's like you've got governments trying to control people into doing the right thing, what is deemed the right thing, by wearing masks and getting vaccinations, and that creates another, you know, anger. Putting prerequisites in, like, if you need to keep your job, you have to get vaxxed, you have to wear a mask, all this shit. People are like, my freedoms. And, you know, they kicked back on that. It's like, well, I'm not wearing masks and I'm not doing this. And they revolted against that. That's the level of arrogance humanity has at the moment, where even people that are suggesting how to stay alive are being kicked in the face. All the scientists are looking at you like, well, fucking die then. Fuck it. I got vaxxed. I'm like, I don't give a shit if it causes autism. I already got autism. I don't give a shit. More concerned about blood clots, but I took the Pfizer. But it's like, I'm not that kind of revolutionary kind of person where it's like, you know, I'm going to quit my job because they require me to get 3 vaccines. I'm like, fuck it, get the vaccines. I don't give a shit. This doesn't bother me. If my job required me to go and have sex with random people in order to keep my job, I'd be like, I'm going to say no to that and quit the job. It's like, because that goes against my moral code. But vaccinations didn't go against my moral code. I took the vaxxers, I wore the mask, and I got on with it. I wasn't particularly angry about the situation. It was annoying to have to go to the gym wearing the mask because you could barely breathe, because you're like huffing and puffing away. But, you know, you adapt and you overcome. Like the Canadian Army says, adapt, improvise, and overcome. Get over it. Stop being, you know, acting like a little bitch. We get on with it. But you had a whole bunch of people just cracking the shits, and they were getting angrier and angrier, and there was restrictions. When the Ukraine war started, there was petrol restrictions. Prices went up because we just couldn't get the resources, and people cracked the shits more. So that built on the anger that was already there from the COVID restrictions and frustrations, where people were losing their jobs and their houses and stuff like that. Cost of living went up. Cost of living went up with COVID. Then we had the oil issue. Then we had, you know, after that, now we got Putin, you know, being an asshole. We've also got the Middle East kicking off again, and they're always fucking fighting in one way or another, which is causing more issues with the cost of living, because again, that's another fuel source gone. China's getting shitty about Taiwan because they want more land, because China's got too many fucking people, to be honest, in a land mass, and now they're looking for a land grab. And Taiwan is a really good footing in the China Sea for militant operations. I'm going to have to look into that more, but from what I've heard, it's a really good area for, you know, something about aircrafts or some shit, I don't know. Anyway, I'm going to have to look into that a bit more. It's been a while since I've looked into that South Asian Sea tensions and shit like that. But all these governments kicking off and lying about what they are in order to get people to act a particular way. And we're all aware of it now because we've got global communications, and like, you know, even if China cut off mass media to their country, it's still getting in. Even if they hyper-propagandize, if that's a word, the West as being this evil entity. I mean, I don't know if the West is an evil entity. It's pretty fucking retarded at times, but it's not. I don't think it's evil. Bearing in mind I'm a bit biased because I live in it, technically. But I'm looking at America, and everybody else in the West is looking at America and going, well, they're just dumb. They're not, they're not really a threat. They're more likely to implode than explode because they're quite thick. I mean, they created friendly fire. I mean, look at that. The British Army is looking at them going, what the fuck are we fighting with these idiots for? What the fuck? We're all going to get killed. There was a lot of the British Army bailing out the American Army in the Second World War, is what I'm going to say. And it is a fact. We bailed those fuckers out a lot. And they came in for the prestige and the glory and saying, oh, I'm the big American, I've got guns blazing, I'm great. And the British are sitting there going, well, just calm down, mate, because we've done all the footwork, so shut up. There is that. British are very understated in their achievements when it comes to militant movements. It's like, you know, it's very much just a day in the office. Americans come in there like they're the fucking Christ second coming. It's like, would you just sit down and put your grenades down, would you? It's weird. But the thing, I side with the British Army because I'm more like, well, first of all, I'm British, Irish British. But I like the subtlety of it. The commandos in the British Army, they just go in and get the job done and get out again. You wouldn't even know they were fucking there. They just do it. Americans are all like, I want to be like Arnie. I want to come in with my machine guns, get the job done. I gotta go guns blazing, bare arms, baby oiled, and nipples rock hard. I want to go in there and fire and shit. It's like, I don't understand you fuckers. You're drawing attention to your position. You're gonna fuck up the job. And when they do fuck up, it's a big fuck up because everyone can see it because they've drawn attention to themselves. So that's why I prefer the British Army to the American one. You got to be plenty fucking stupid to be, you know, giving away a position like that for the sake of ego and narcissism. I'm America. We're great. You were never great. Britain was great. Even we've got rid of that fucking accolade. We're great, Britain. Oh, we're Britain now. It's all right. We're all right. We're just a bit more humble now. But you know, all the shit that's kicking off now is just, it's a clusterfuck of tensions. It's a series of governments being caught out on lies, or, you know, like overly controlling tactics. And all it does is causes a peasants' revolt. If you've looked at the peasants' revolt, it was a bunch of, you could look at it from a Marxist viewpoint, to be honest. I loved looking at Marxism when I was in uni. I loved it. I'm not a communist, but I can see what he was getting at. Going, yeah. I can see what he's getting at. Because I grew up in poverty. And I know what it is to be shat on for being broke. And I'm still a democratic person to an extent, but I'm just saying, such as I am a monarchist. I'm a monarchist, but I'm a monarchist with standards. At this point, I'm not happy with what's going on with the monarchy in Britain at all. I think it's a load of shit. And as soon as the Queen and Philip passed through to the other side, I think it went tits up, to be honest, because we left the ego-driven narcissists to run things, and I think it's going downhill, which is why we've got so many bitchy, fighting, catty diva shit going on in the media, and it's like, Philip would be pissed, I can tell you. Anyway, that's a tangent in itself. He would be pissed. More than pissed. The Queen would have just sat there and kept quiet, but Philip would have been ranting. This diva little bitch attitude. But that's the thing, it's like there's a great coming out and exposing of people in positions of power that, just causes strife in the society and community. And people are catching on that, these heroes we've created are not actually heroes, they're actually villains to an extent, because they've just promoted themselves and their position and the good bits of themselves maybe over, to cover up all the shit bits they've been doing. It's interesting to watch it unfolding, and I don't know where it's going to end in terms of who gets to be on top, but I don't think, honestly, it's going to go completely down the drain. I don't think so. I think there will be reformations, and we've had so many different types of reformations over history. If it's not religious, it's political. If it's not political, it's fucking economic. There's so many different waves of reformation which have occurred over history, which is why I love history, because you get to see the same patterns and the anomalies sticking out, and you go, oh, I've seen this one before, this episode's great. Like, my favorite anomaly at the moment was the Black Death. I think it's fascinating to watch it unfold. It was great. If you ever get a chance to go and look at some documentaries on the bubonic plague, intensely fascinating. And when COVID hit, I went, I know this episode. When are we going to start bordering up people in their rooms and putting great big crosses on their doors? Never happened, though. What happened was more like the Spanish flu, which was upsetting, because that's just a boring flu. I want to see buboes and pustules and things. It was never that exciting. But it was a lot of things happened that caused social unrest and a reshifting of things. And you'll find, like, in times of war right now, people are getting more conservative because they're craving safety and stability. In times of peace, people want liberalism. And I mean liberalism in the sense of softness and hippie-like mentality. For some reason, in some countries, their version of liberal is the opposite. Like, if you look in America, the liberals, or is it in Australia? I think it's in Australia, the liberals are more conservative, and or something like that. It's flicked, and you're sitting there going, well, this is just confusing. In times of war, people want more conservative values. They want the stability. They want to know that everything's going to be okay and everything's safe. Which is why we're seeing people reject things like, even looking at, like, relationships-wise, open relationships, stuff like that. I mean, I've never been open to polygamy and all that shit. But, like, gender roles. We're seeing such a saturation of, all this, I say wokeism, but I don't want to taint the idea, because I do love wokeism. I know what it is, and I think people have been bandwagoning it to distort it from what it really is. I mean, in its purest sense, wokeism is just an extension of things like, human rights, anti-racism, things like that. But people have perverted it to, encompass some kind of ego-driven narcissism where they have to come first and fuck everyone else. I don't agree with that. They've made it all about them. Anyway, that's a whole different thing. And I have got a podcast on that coming. I've just got to make it. But, People just got to stop making it about them and realize they're living in a global community. Everything's interlinked. Everybody's different. Everybody's got their own life path. They're trying to make sense of the world around them in. And to just treat each other with a little bit more respect and softness, because nobody's got the answer. I haven't got the answer. I'm nearly 40. I still don't fucking know what the fuck we're doing. So people above me in age are still looking around them going, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing otherwise. And now I've got dementia. It's like, fuck, we're never going to know. But people look into conservatism. So we're seeing the saturation in I want to say wokeism, but it's not. It's like where people are coming out as, I'm non-binary, identify as a sheep, and all this shit. And you go, okay, all right. Like, I don't agree with you, but I mean, non-binary I don't give a shit about, because I don't recognize gender in itself, because everybody's doing everybody's job, and that's a social abstract, so whatever. But when it comes to things like developing a sense of identity based on your biological factors, whether you've got an XX chromosome, XY chromosome, I think there is some fact there that cannot be ignored, and you can't pretend to be something else because you don't feel like it. That's my view on that. I don't recognize genders, because gender is just a role. It's not anything. Anyone can do everything. Boys can act like girls. Yeah, it's a spectrum. Anyway. But we're seeing people are feeling threatened by this because it's just hypersaturated in the community. It's getting shoved in everyone's faces, and it's a matter of genuine people who have these feelings, who might have been oppressed, finally being able to have the freedom to say, this is me, mixed with a bunch of ego narcissists who are going, this is me, and everybody else has to shut the fuck up and listen to me. You know, it's that mix where the genuine people are getting pushed to the back and being stomped on by their own kind. And it's the loud ones at the front that are making it all about them as an individual that are causing the problems with the more conservative people who are saying, this is too abrasive, I can't handle this, and they're kicking back. And again, it's part of that victim mentality which is running around the community as well, because any kind of confrontation is now an attack, isn't it? It's not just a case of constructive criticism or anything like that. It's they're picking on us, because if they don't agree with us, they're against us. It's like, well, no, because that's how you get pragmatism. You can be a fence sitter, absolutely. It's a whole fucking sociological movement. You can be a pragmatist and be fucking fine. Switzerland is a political pragmatist. They don't get involved in anyone's fucking shit, and that's why they've got all the money. If you think about it in an economic way as well. So they are the holding zone, and possibly the safest country to exist in, because they're surrounded by a loop of mountains and nobody's getting fucking in there. But it's, you know, it's like everybody, it's all the kickback. It's like, this is why people are heading more towards the traditional girls that want to stay at home and play the traditional, so-called traditional nuclear family housewife from the 50s. It's like, I wasn't raised that way. I don't feel that's for me, but I can recognize other people want to do that, and fine, that's you. It doesn't work, but okay, that's why we moved away from it in the 50s and 60s, but okay, that's you. You want to do that? That's you. If they were constantly to shove it in my face, this is the way you have to be, this is the way you should be, and if you don't, you're not one of us. I mean, bearing in mind, I don't have that sense of belonging where I want to contribute to that kind of shit anyway. I'm not a follower. I don't have that go along to get along mentality. I don't give a shit if you think I should be doing this. If it doesn't feel right for me, I won't. Which is why I've never done drugs, and I don't drink, and it's like most people are saying, well, you're an adult, you should be doing these things. Well, maybe not the drugs, but the alcohol. It's like all alcohol, all adults drink. You got to have a beer after work and on the weekend and all the fucking time, and you're gonna. It's like, well, actually, I don't like the taste of it. I don't like what it does to me, and I've had some bad experiences. And then they'll say, oh, it's the bad experiences making you stop and doing it. It's like, no, generally, I don't like it. But you do get those sort of pressures as well. It's like me being a nearly 40-year-old woman. It's like, when are you having kids? It's like, I'm not. You'll want them when you grow up. Like when I was in my 20s, like, you'll want them growing up, won't you? It's like, no, actually, I don't want them. I don't want them out of me. I mean, getting older now, I'm nearly 40. I'm like, I don't mind if someone else has got them and they bring them with them, but I'm not doing mine. It's like, I'm good. I have no inclination to shoot shit out of my body, unless maybe it's shit. I don't know. As it's not there. I have a maternal instinct. I know that much. I don't want to go through the process of childbirth and shit like that. So I don't have that in me, no desire to do that. To devote my life to having a baby, or several babies. I feel there's much more to be done with my brain. I've been given a fucking good one, so I'm going to use it. I don't need to rely on my uterus to give me a sense of identity. Oh my God, my speech. I am stuttering. It's like, and some people just define their entire identity on their babiness. It's like, guys have got that as well. I've noticed in the podcasts I've been listening to, and I've been listening to dumb shit like Andrew Tate. I'm sorry, I know, but I like to cover all the bases. And guys are trying to put women in submissive positions, saying men should lead and all this shit. And I'm sitting there going, the whole time going, no, we should be co-leading, because, you know, I'm with the 50-50. I'm fine with that. I'm cool with that, because I know women are capable. To put women in a submissive position where we're at the mercy of someone else, anyone else, it could be another woman. You should never put yourself at the mercy of someone else, because that's how shit goes wrong. And then you're trapped. I don't care if it's a man, I don't care if it's a woman. Now, I've had bad experiences with men where they've been unreliable, and that has colored my view of how my relationships are formed. I've found myself for a large part of my life bailing men out, and I understand that has colored my view of that, you know, interaction. But at the same time, my ideal is a 50-50 relationship. I don't want to be submissive to a man, not because of, you know, I'm traumatized by them, but because I know I am capable of thinking for my fucking self. You know, it's like, I'm not going to be submissive. If we go on a date, it's going to be 50-50. Either, you know, you get this and I'll get the next one, or some shit like that. It's not a case of, oh, I've got a vagina and therefore you must pay for me. It's like no. Oh my God, what next? You know, it's like, no, I have a brain. I have arms, legs, and a brain. I have a job. You know, I don't do charity. I stand on my own 2 fucking feet because I'm, you know, adult fucking woman. It's like, this is what we are. We co-lead equally. But to put women in that submissive position because, oh, well, they bought the makeup and they bought the hair and they did their nails. It's like, yeah, that's down to individual choice. Don't pay for their food because they chose to look a particular way. That's fucking stupid. I mean, a guy turns up looking like shit. That's on them. To a date, you know, it's like, you look like shit. That will leave an impression, but I'm not gonna, you know, I'm not gonna foot the bill because you put on aftershave. It's like, fuck off. No, no, it's ridiculous. There's so many podcasts there that you look at it and you go, what the fuck are we passing on to the next generation? It's like, we're putting women back into a vulnerable position of being submissive to men. Not equal to. I mean, stepped back feminism, God knows how long. And I'm not neo-feminist. I'm not saying women are better than men, but I am saying we should be looking for some kind of equality on the same level. I don't want them doing all the work. I find it would be torturous to put a man in a position where he has to carry the full load of the workload and the income and shit like that. If you'd listened to my other podcasts about, you know, the role of women and female financial independence, I'm sitting there going, look, just because you made the choice of having kids, yeah, maybe you could tag team, you know, child rearing up until they're about 5, but once they're in school, no, you both get a job, you handle your shit, and you co-lead. You don't ride on the other person, expect them to bail you out because you decided to have a kid. That's not how it works. It's not how it would work in the wild. It's like, when you think of lionesses, right? They have cubs. They still go out and fucking hunt. They don't rely on, like, the guy to handle their shit for them because I want to be a stay-at-home mom. It's like, no, it doesn't make sense. She might put her cubs somewhere safe, but she'll go out and fucking hunt. And, you know, I don't know where the guy is. I haven't really watched a lot of David Attenborough, but, you know, it's ridiculous to assume that women should be housed and installed in a kitchen and a house and your baby is your life and that's it. It feels ridiculous to me. It's a waste of a brain. And women, there are some fucking smart women out there. Smarter than me by far. And we're wasting them because we're telling them that they have to be, you know, baby bearers and that is your life now. And they might give up these amazing careers where they can really make some advancement, you know, towards community and society and shit like that. And we're telling them, you got to go have a kid and stay home. It's like, no. We broke out of that once. We broke out of that several times over with the 60s, with the 50s, with the... It's like we have to keep breaking these fucking little cages they keep putting us in because some arsehole turns around and says, well, it'd be easier if I just stay at home and you pay for me. It's like, stop enabling the lazy fuckers and saying that's the standard. It's like, no, it's not. Anyway, I'm gonna have to wrap it up because I'm turning up at my parents' house in about 2 minutes, so I'm gonna have to wrap that up. I'm hoping you guys have a fantastic, what day is it? Sunday. Next podcast I do hopefully will be a different format. I'm looking into videotaping rather than just doing audio, but I've still got to figure out the kinks in that. Okay, so I will see you guys hopefully in the next couple of weeks. I want you to have a great Sunday. I mean, you don't have to listen to what I say. You don't have to take anything as gospel. I am talking out my ass a lot of the time. So it's just based on observation and shit. Have a great one. Okay, take it easy. I'll see you later.